England.
We've conquered all of Europe. We're never gonna stop. From Palestine to Taki, we've won the fucking lot. Got Paisley and the Shankly, the fields of Anfield gold. We are all supporters, and we come from Liverpool.
Welcome to the match debate. This is, of course, the Red Sea Down Under, care of the Red Sea podcast. I am Nick, your host for this one, joined by my man to your left, Peter the Coach Kafinas, and our Aussie Robbo down below, Jimmy Nicholson. Pete, good evening to you. How are you feeling?
Pretty good. Both my teams won this weekend, so
that was going to be my follow-up question. From the Liverpool side, how are you feeling? And then from the Aston Villa side, how are you feeling?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's good to get our first win under Stevie. It was a tough match. It was 0-0 half time. Obviously, what he done at half time was excellent because they came out second half and we were quite good. But it's the same for Liverpool. My other team was really good as well. This morning. It was to get 6 points over the weekend. I mean, it was brilliant.
Jimmy, how long is Pete going to keep this charade up for?
I just got a few questions. I never once heard him talk about Rangers when Stevie was in charge, so
That's
I think
he's very good.
He's
actually I bought a Rangers. I bought a Rangers top, so yeah.
Yeah. Sure you did. I'm curious to see how long it goes, but looking forward to chatting all things Liverpool, focusing on the Liverpool win, and reviewing the Liverpool game, not the Aston Villa game.
Yeah, don't know what's in Aston Villa straight away. Good morning to Hector Joseph joining us
there
nice
he
and
is.
early. Shout out to all the viewers here. A bit different. We normally match debate on a Monday night / Monday morning for the UK folk and for the Aussies, but we're doing this on a Sunday night. Something a little bit different because it is still a weekend. There are still games to be played in a few hours' time, so it's still within footballing, shall we say, a timeline, because obviously once games are over and done with, then you can talk, but I would say mostly we'd be focusing on our team, and straight after, the day after, is when you really want to be mentioning it. So something a little bit different, trial and error. We'll see how we go. But speaking of trial and error, we'll get straight into it. It looks like the Arsenal streak, the 10-game streak, is over. If anyone's a wrestling fan, channeling The Undertaker, the streak is over, and we have this man to thank right here, Mr. Mikel Arteta. Pete, straight off the bat, what was your thoughts moving into this one? Because on the previous, on the Red Fix, before the Arsenal game, we mentioned that this was going to be a tricky game because Arsenal are not the Arsenal the first 3 rounds. They've gone 10 games undefeated now in all competitions. And it was a bit of a potential tricky one, but the game went on, and even with the injuries we had, we still managed to get 3 points out of it and another big win, 4-0 win. So what were your initial thoughts leading up to this game, and what are your thoughts after the game?
Heading into the game, it wasn't easy. I mean, it wasn't one of those ones that you kind of go, well, especially coming off a loss to West Ham and our midfield being quite, defensively a bit of a liability through majority parts of this season. I was thinking, this could, might be one of those 3-3 games that we've seen so many times against Arsenal. And as the game started, it was, at 0-0, it was quite close. Even though we did dominate the ball from early, I think Arsenal were defending well, and you can tell what they were trying to do. And then it came to this little Thunderbird lookalike piece of shit on the sideline, who decided to try and be a hero all of a sudden. He thought he was 7 foot tall. And then he just arced up to Klopp and then just literally galvanized the whole stadium. And that was it for him. And after that, it was, you shouldn't have given us that little juice because you were doing okay. But it was your fault. It's your fault. Sucked in.
Pretty much. It pretty much was his fault in a way you think about it, because it was sort of like smooth sailing. Not to say exactly smooth. Arsenal were dealing with what we were putting forward, and Ramsdale in goal was just amazing. And you thought before Mane got that first goal of the game, it was going to be one of those occasions where the opposition goalkeeper turns into prime Gigi Buffon and nothing gets past them. But the breakthrough did come. But James, I want to ask you now, do you think the game changed on its head when Arteta arced up about Sadio climbing over, I think who it was, is it the Japanese fella they've got, the defender?
Tomiyasu, whatever it's...
Tomiyasu, sorry. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, when he jumped up over him and it was this... But Tomiyasu got one on Mane, and then Mane got one over him. But was there any real need for Arteta to arc up like that?
Yeah, it was a bit of a bolt out of the blue, to be honest. I don't really know what he was thinking when he done that. He obviously thinks he's seen something in a few prior incidents, which I don't think there was anything worth of note, especially in the Premier League. When you're going for a 50-50 ball, you expect two players to go at it hammer and tong, and both players did. One player would come off better than the other each time. I don't think it's influenced the game.
That's Arteta.
It's exactly who he is. I don't think it influenced the game, but it probably gave the teams a little bit more fire because of the noise that came from the crowd, probably more Liverpool. Obviously, we got the goal not long after that. We got a great chance from Trent Alexander-Arnold on his weaker foot as well, which Ramsey managed to tip over the bar. It was a bit of an odd one, but I think the game was generally going in that direction anyway, to be honest. As Peter said, Arsenal obviously came with a game plan, and that seemed to be working, even though they had a lot less possession, playing out from the back and trying to take that opportunity to counter-attack. Looked like something that could work out at some point, but there was never really any trouble for Fabinho, for Van Dijk and Matip, who I feel both had very strong, solid games. And Alisson, even though rarely called into action, did manage to pull off one or two fantastic saves when needed. I think, to be honest, Arsenal were very fortunate that they had Aaron Ramsdale in goals. I've been of the opinion that now that he's got his England cap, the English media, it's happened with Joe Hart, it's happened with pretty much every single English goalkeeper after they get their first cap. They're the greatest goalkeeper in the world, and everything they touch turns to gold and everything like that. But admittedly, he was actually quite good, so I can't really say they were taking the piss too much. But I think the nature of the game, it was going that way. And I think Arsenal ended up capitulating after just after halftime.
Well, let's talk about this Mane situation here, teams targeting Mane, because he can be, I'm not going to say he's a loose cannon, but he does like to get on people's backs and sort of arc up a little bit, and he can sort of have a short fuse at times. So I'm not surprised why people like to target Mane. But also, just speaking of Mane, the starting 11 itself, because we knew we had injuries, but the good thing was Thiago was back, as was Fabinho, and we saw Matip return as well, partnering Van Dijk, got clean sheet, Trent with 2 assists, Mane a goal and an assist, Salah got his goal, Jota got his goal, could have had more. It was a great overall performance, and Alisson had to pull off a few saves when he needed to. But Pete, as it says here in the banner, a team's targeting Mane, is that something that does actually happen?
Yeah, of course it is, because I think he's had, there's been instances where you've seen Mane lash out in a challenge late or dive into a slide tackle thinking he's try and block the ball and gets the players. You've seen him in 3 or 4 incidents where there is a raised elbow into a challenge. Like, we've seen it all before. And it's because, he's just got that fire in his belly. He's just one of them kind of players. And similar to what I think Arteta saw Simeone target him completely in that match. And I thought maybe Arteta, he thinks that Simeone almost had success doing it because it forced Klopp to take him off. So he thought, maybe let's do the same thing. But what Mane did excellent in this match was the fact that he literally laughed it off every time. There was that incident where he went through, was it Ben White on the sideline, just literally went through him, 100% yellow card, which I agree with. But he's literally standing on the sideline next to their staff, and their staff's abusing referee, and he's just sitting there standing like, all right, hurry up and book me now so I could just get on with the game. And what I love is that Klopp trusted him enough to keep him on as well. Like, it showed that kind of like, look, it's fine. Like, look at the scoreline. We're safe. I trust you. Don't do anything stupid. And I found that actually, that was quite positive. One of the outcomes of the match, there's so many cool things that happened in the match. I think that was one of those ones that I found really, I was just proud kind of thing that Mane just stayed on the whole game, really.
It was nice to see himself starting and sort of see the Mane of old taking on players, wanting to move forward and beat a defender. And look, let's be real here. He had Thiago alongside him, but we got to mention another player, a player who has been much maligned. Not maligned by us. We absolutely love the bloke. but just in general, it has to be said that this one particular player, he's been begging to be played, and it's this man right here. What an absolute beast, Tsimikas. What an absolute guy. Again, yet to lose a game when starting. I think that's a stat, if I'm not mistaken. Alongside Van Dijk at Anfield, mind you. But look at him, absolutely loving life right now. Rightfully getting himself a go. And with Robertson being out with a hamstring injury, you'd say it's probably another week or two off. So he's probably going to play again. But can we just give this man a bit of an appreciation, because I thought he did himself quite well. And the deliveries he puts in, I mean, just the cutback. I think there was a moment in the first half when he's playing off Mane. Mane puts a ball in, he cuts inside, pulls it back, and I think that's the one that was it maybe Mane gets a return or something, or Jota misses it or something to that effect. But just him getting in, wanting to play balls into the box. I mean, what can we say about this fella, Mr. Aussie Robbo yourself?
Yeah, no, I was nervous that with Andy Robertson's injury that he got on the international break, I was worried that Jurgen Klopp would still play him even if he only had one leg, because of the whole Tsimikas saga that's sort of non-existent but existent at the same time. He was phenomenal today, last night. I thought, or this morning, I should say. He was absolutely brilliant. He living the dream he is, I tell you what. He was phenomenal on that left-hand side, both defensively and offensively. And he doesn't shy out of anything at all, which is absolutely fantastic. A lot of his gameplay today reminded me of the early Andy Robertson that we used to see when he really came into the side and he started linking up with Sadio Mane. There were some really strong linkages on that left-hand side. And there was that one I think you might have been referring to in the first half where he did do the sort of the pass-through with Mane. He's played into the box and he's done the cutback to Salah, and I think that's where Salah's done that shot and Ramsdale's sort of juggled it away from his feet a little bit. But it's things like that that make the difference, because when we can create opportunities like that, that's when we we can score goals, and that's when we can be at our most dangerous. So it's not just the front three putting the ball in the back of the net, it's that hard yards that's coming from the left and from the right hand side. And we already know what Trent Alexander-Arnold's doing with, I think he's now at 50 assists or something like that in the Premier League, something absolutely insane. But Tsimikas is now making a case for himself to say, I'm not here just to backfill Andy Robertson when he's not 100%. I'm actually here to fight for a place, and I'm actually here to start games because I'm good enough to do so. And there's no debate in the fact that he isn't good enough, because he's clearly shown so far this season when he has been called upon that he can do a phenomenal job. So as much as I love Andy Robertson being the captain of my country, to have that sort of problem is a blessing, I have to say, at left back.
Mr. Peter the Coach Kafinas, Aston Villa / Liverpool fan, your initial take, because we've been crying out for Tsimikas to start, and it's not because he's Greek and you're Greek and all that sort of stuff. There, you want to see players.
Yes, it is.
It's not. Right. It really isn't.
Calm down, Scottish Aussie Robbo. Is it fair, like as Jimmy just said, he's good enough? Is it fair to say now that we don't have to heavily rely on Robertson anymore? But you will still probably be more inclined to use Robertson, in a maybe more intense game. Whereas if you need a bit more, I don't know if it's the right term. Would you consider Tsimikas like creative as a left back, but from his runs and his crosses and things like that?
Yeah, but hang on,
sort of a grafter.
You can talk about his creativeness all you want, but what about his defensive record when he's played? We haven't conceded a goal.
Like, that's what I just said. Sorry, I was correct in that. It was sort of correct in that sense. Then
we haven't conceded a goal when he's been playing. So it's not just about what he does when he attacks. Like you saw that header today that flicked on to Jota, that flicked it in through to Mane, that led to the Salah goal. It's what he does. He finds himself in really good defensive positions at the right time as well. He gets blocks. He closes plays down quickly enough. He forces them to one side. He shuts them down. His body, he's got good feet. He moves his feet really, really well in 1v1 situations when he's defending. So, I mean, we've been calling since the start of pre-season that this guy gets a chance, because Robbo didn't have the best of seasons last season, albeit that he had to play way too many games. And that kind of started with Robbo's dip right when we came back from the first COVID lockdown, and, after winning the league. And the whole team was poor, but it all kind of started from there. And we needed a bit of a kick up the arse on that side. And this player has provided that kick. But what bothers me is the fact that, like, next week against Southampton, he'll probably be on the bench. Because what he'll do, he'll start him against Porto and say, okay, you've played your 2 games in a row now. We'll be on the bench for another 4 weeks. And because I think I mentioned it a few weeks ago. Think of Sadio Mane's best ever games this season, and then check who the left back is.
Yeah, Tsimikas.
That's what I'm going to say. I'll leave it at that, because it's something that he's different. He doesn't run into the spaces of the others. He's neat and tidy. He can thread the needles when Mane rolls in. Obviously, we've seen the deliveries. It's not, that's another question in terms of who can deliver the ball better. I think only Trent can in the squad, but it's just, I feel like it's time. I feel like it's time to keep him in there until he fucks up, in other words.
What about Hector Joseph's comment? This won't happen, but we should play Tsimikas and Robertson in the same game. Tsimikas crossing and Robbo defending. He plays Tsimikas as a left winger, maybe?
I mean, if he can figure out a system, then I think he should be the coach of Liverpool, because that's quality.
That's not a bad lad.
With the African Cup of Nations coming up, we might have to consider something like that, to be honest.
Play Tsimikas in Mane's position. Throw him on the left. Just let him do those sorts of things there. Look, let's go to this one now. The obviously the front three scored, all scored goals. Salah got his goal. Jota could have had a hat trick himself. Mane got his, a nice header. But let's go talking about the midfield now, because this was the tricky one here, because we know we're light of numbers in the midfield. Henderson copped an injury with England, but he came on late in the second half. We know that Elliott's back in recovery and recuperation. But it's nice to see that Matip, you can sort of think him playing through the midfield sometimes. I'm not thinking of Matip. Thiago and Fabinho starting together, and how good they were. But the guy who features in the thumbnail, Oxlade-Chamberlain, I thought he had a decent game. Against West Ham, he was pretty bang average, if that's being polite. But I thought in this game he did well, played 3/4 of a match. I'll go to you first, Pete. What was your take on Chamberlain in this game in particular?
Okay, so I'm probably going to get shot for what I'm about to say, but it's the midfield, in my opinion, was the best performance of the season from our midfield, arguably, considering the opponent and the form they were in entering the match. I think the balance was absolutely perfect. I thought with Ox being the dynamic runner with the ball worked perfectly, because Fabinho actually had his again one of his better games in midfield. He broke up so much, and there was that incident where if he got this tackle wrong, they were 1-on-1, and he did this slide tackle. I think it was against Aubameyang, and he got him perfectly, and he broke up 3 or 4 times. You just see him slide in, stop, and Fabinho was back. Like, it was unbelievable. And Thiago, people forget how good Thiago is. And people forget what it looks like to see a world-class midfielder that can literally do whatever he wants with the ball at his feet. Yes, okay, his fitness is one thing, but we act like we've got this bum in midfield, and Thiago's is like this wannabe Iniesta or whatever it is, but we forget that Thiago is the pinnacle of midfielders in world football. Like, there is no higher. Like, he's reached that level. So, and we saw that. We saw that when the way he controls midfield, the way he breaks lines, the way he finds players in the spaces, the way he just dictates tempo. He's unbelievable, and I thought that midfield balance was absolutely perfect. And to speak to be blasphemic, Henderson this year has been defensively terrible for us. The players continually run by him, and he points at other people and blames them. On the ball, he's been great. He's done some really good things for us in games. He's still our leader, still our captain, but I think people like him and Robertson need to be called out every now and then, because it's the truth. And I think we saw that in this game. We saw it in this game. The midfield defensively, they did not get run in behind once.
I think it is fair to say that we did see a midfield that sort of didn't, for lack of a better term, didn't fuck up moving too far forward, because we do say Chamberlain, he can be good. He's been average at best, below par, but then again, he hasn't had that many games under his belt. And when he has come on, he's had a couple of good games, a majority of average, but then again, he's played in a position maybe he doesn't want to play in. But when he runs through that midfield, as we've said, Ox needs room to run. And when he's got room to run, if he's got Thiago and Fabinho either side or behind him or whatever, and he's got that freedom to run forward and link up play and do whatever it is that he needs to do, it sort of works in his favour. So, James, is this where we're going to be looking at using Chamberlain for as long as he remains at Liverpool? Just keep him in that. But he was playing like on that right side, but then he was moving in between. Is this where he's going to be playing, or does he strictly need to play with this combination of midfielders? Can he play with any other midfielders, or does he need to have a certain player around him?
He needs to be able to play with other midfielders. That's the reality. If he's wanting a longevity in his Liverpool career, if it's a case of he can only play and he can only shine when he's around these kind of players, Thiago and Fabinho, who are stellar examples of what they need to do in their role, then that's a bit of a challenge, because when other midfielders start to come back from injury, when they start to get to full fitness, then is he going to be able to hold on to that position? Probably not. But in saying that, he did have a very good game with Fabinho and Thiago doing what they do best. Oxlade-Chamberlain had the opportunity to make those runs to put offensive pressure on the Arsenal defence. He won the ball back quite a number of times, which was absolutely fantastic. But in saying that, he was also really good in defence. I think there was one in the first half where he actually managed to get a foot in front of, I think it was Saka, got the header. He managed to block it, which I don't think I've ever seen Oxlade-Chamberlain that deep in defence. But if he can show that kind of work rate and he can bring that when we need it most, then fantastic, happy days. He's going to be a very useful player for us for the remainder of the season. The thing is, though, if he's going to be putting in that much effort and he can only last 65, 70 minutes at best, he's then starting to be a bit of that Adam Lallana type who puts in a fantastic performance but then is completely gassed midway through the second half. But that remains to be seen if that's really what the issue is. We'll see what goes, but it was a good performance from Oxlade-Chamberlain's best performance so far this season. I think the midfield combination worked well for everyone involved and worked well for the way Liverpool played and the way that Arsenal tried to set up. It helped us try and break them down a lot more and put more pressure on as the game went. If we can have more of that from Oxlade-Chamberlain, I'll be a very happy man. I'll probably put my hand up and say I've probably been a bit of a stickler for Oxlade-Chamberlain and saying that he's not performing when we need him to perform, but I will put my hand up and say that he's definitely stood up today and played well.
Yeah,
I think, I think on that though, Jimmy, I think it goes to show that we don't need that two midfielders attacking all the time, because Trent still got 2 assists.
Yeah,
all the front three still scored and should have scored more, and the midfield balance was completely. I thought like the game was so controlled from a possession point of view. I felt that, I don't know, that goes to show what we said in our last show. With a double pivot, we are better. We are much better 100%. With a double because, again, with Fabinho and Thiago playing, it's similar to Tsimikas' record. We've never lost a game with Fabinho and Thiago in the midfield, just like we've never lost a game with Tsimikas starting. But we're going to see, I'm sure, in a couple of weeks' time or even next week, Tsimikas will be off. Somehow Thiago will be on the bench and Henderson's in with somebody else, and all of a sudden that form, that we're starting to get a bit of traction. It looks good. It just be disrupted to bring people back in, really.
Yeah. I think that's the reality, though. What is going to happen is, Naby Keita's come back and Henderson gets back to full fitness. There's going to be a shift again, but I think it's fair to say that. Obviously, we did discuss it on the Red Fix, but being able to do that and then allow that sort of defensive security, but then that offensive pressure to still happen, it's the best that we've looked this season so far.
I agree 100%. I think Ox did provide that.
But this is the thing, though. Like Arsenal 10-game streak, well, undefeated streak, I should say, not 10-game winning streak, but undefeated nonetheless. It was going to be one of those games after losing to West Ham. Okay, what's going to happen here? Mind you, Wolves beat West Ham in their fixture that was before us. So that sort of makes you look in hindsight, think like, okay, well, what went wrong for us there? A lot of people can argue. A lot of people say Alisson was probably not at his best. But speaking of Alisson, he actually did have to pull off a few saves in this game, and also in that second half when Aubameyang was charging down, when Alisson had to make a save from Aubameyang. I just want to show you something here, and tell me if you can spot what I'm trying to show you, gentlemen. It's not probably the easiest thing to see, but let me know if you can spot it, please. I'd like you to know. So this is a little image here. So save. Did
It's
anyone
the
catch it?
no look pass from
Thank
Van
you.
Dijk.
Thank you. Here it is. He's going. There it is. He looked on the side. He's done a little Firmino tribute there. Do you see it, Pete? When he's just looked to the side one more time.
I remember pissing myself laughing when I saw it during the game.
I didn't pick it up at first. I thought, did that actually happen? And he did. I'm just like, I don't know what his thinking was, but I just want to give a shout out to Alisson there. Obviously kept us. I think it was 3-0 at that point, maybe, or maybe it was still 2-0. I'm not sure, but yeah, 1 goal back for them, and that could have been a very different result at the end of the game. But yeah, we don't give up 2-0 leads at home, do we, Pete?
Oh no, which team are you talking about now?
We don't give up 2-0 leads at home.
Not to Brighton, anyway.
Not to Brighton. Can someone tell me whose heat map this is now? I'm doing something a little bit different here. Someone tell me whose heat map this is here. I want you to tell me whose heat map is this. Anyone?
That's that's Taki Minamino. That's about
Very
a 30-second heat map.
That's the one. On the pitch, first touch, gets himself a goal.
43
have to
seconds,
say-
wasn't it? Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. Japanese impact. It's about time we saw Taki in a Premier League game. Obviously, we've seen him beforehand, scored against Palace in that 7-0 win last season, but he hasn't really had that much game time in the Premier League. But I don't know what possessed Klopp to put him on there, but I'm just happy that he got himself a goal.
I can tell you what possessed him. If you want to know, I can tell you. The African Cup of
Enlighten me.
Nations around the fucking corner.
That's true.
And so
Start
now he's
getting
gone,
ready. Start scoring
shit.
goals. Start
That's
doing
what he
something.
said. So, but you saw the position he found himself in. Like you can say it was a tap in, but guess what? You still got to get yourself in that position.
Yes.
And that's Taki in a nutshell. We've said it on this show 100 times. He's just so intelligent. His IQ is super high, and to be in a perfect position, because Trent will find you. Don't worry about Trent. Woo, don't you worry about Trent. But it's just to be in the right position at the right time for a tap in 43 seconds into the match of you coming on. Some people need 5 minutes to get used to the game. Not him. And that's why I was actually absolutely buzzing when he scored. I actually celebrated that goal harder than the others.
It was nice to see him get in, not just get on the pitch and have like a good 15-minute spell. He scored shortly after Salah got his goal, and it was like 4 minutes later or whatever it was. But it was nice to see that he's able to go on. He's able to see the run. Didn't stray offside, because it's easy to overstep that line and find yourself off, but he was in acres of space. I have no idea what Arsenal defense was doing in that. I have no idea where Tomiyasu was. Ben White didn't even see him. It was akin to the goal we conceded against Brentford away. I think it was when I forget who it was. Opposition player had so much room on the other side and just had a free run and just had a hit and it went in. I think it was like that, like just ghosted in behind as he does. But as I said, I'm happy for him. Nice to see him get himself a goal, and may it long continue, because we signed him for a reason at a stupid, ridiculous discount price, and it's about time we actually see him start doing something. And he came on for Diogo Jota because he did have that collision with Ramsdale a bit before that, and he seemed to be running it off and working okay, but apparently when he got off the pitch he went straight down the tunnel. So we might have to wait and see what happens there. But are we nervous about that potential?
Nah, it's probably just a stock standard assessment.
Yeah. Pete would know, yeah. Because he got up, he rolled around about 10 times, and then he got up and he seemed to be okay after it. He was running around for a little bit, and then, once he got off, it was, okay, is he okay, is he not? He went straight down the tunnel, but it makes sense. I'll take your word for it, Pete, because you deal with these.
I don't know if you saw, but there was a thing, like, obviously, because our Twitter fans are sick people. They, when Taki scored, there was, so Diogo Jota had liked the photo that the club put up of him scoring. So clearly he was on his phone in the dressing room. So, yeah, right. I don't know. Like, that says to me, it can't be that bad.
Yeah,
it must be okay. That makes sense. It was a good performance there. And let's just talk about the Anfield atmosphere, the much maligned Anfield atmosphere. We've spoken about it. It hasn't been the best at times. You can argue that night games or early evening games, are we really going to get the crowd into it after they've had a few, maybe too many or just enough to get their buzz? But there's something about playing under the lights, whether it's a Premier League game, Champions League game, doesn't matter. And it was raining as well, and the crowd were really into it. And I think it's nice to see Anfield absolutely buzzing once again. James, did you notice anything different about the crowd, or do you think the occasion of Arsenal, still a big team coming, and I think this is what the fourth or fifth time we've beaten them by four or more goals or something ridiculous to that effect. What was your take on the Anfield atmosphere?
Yeah, and getting those kind of scorelines only in the last few years as well. It could be a Anfield under the lights kind of thing. I think when you're playing a big opponent like Arsenal, it's always going to draw a bit of extra noise. Things like the Mikel Arteta spat, as if that's also going to help raise the roof a little bit as well. I just think when we're going to play big clubs like that, we're always going to get a bit more noise, which is fantastic. Probably a bit of an expectation as well. Well, we've beat them 3-4, 5-1, 5-0, whatnot last few times. Why are we not going to get that the same time around here as well? So probably a bit of that as well. I genuinely think it's hard. I mean, we hear things from locals who go to the game and things like that, who say the atmosphere is not quite the same, everything like that. I do question whether that is really the case. We have to acknowledge that Liverpool's a big club, right? Liverpool's one of the biggest clubs in the world. It draws fans from all across the world. Naturally, you're going to have a pocket, probably a large pocket of fans that are tourists, things like that. It's always going to happen. You can't help it. It's the Premier League. Every Premier League club's going to have their pocket of tourists. But I still think there is a genuine love for football for the Liverpool fans who do attend the game, whether they're from Liverpool, whether they're from somewhere else in the UK, whether they're from somewhere else in the world. I think the challenge that we have a lot of the times when we're watching from Australia or any other country when we're not at the game is the TV companies the broadcaster can obviously manipulate these things, and then that's when people are like, "Oh, did you hear the Anfield noise?" Of course, you didn't hear the Anfield noise. Things like that. So I always question that. I think we still get more noise in big games like this when you play your Arsenals, your Man Cities, your Man Uniteds, your Evertons, things like that. Not that Everton are a big club, but they're a local rival, so there would be a lot of noise there. So yeah, you will get more noise in those occasions. I don't have any concern or question about the integrity of the Anfield noise in general. That's for sure.
Pete, Anfield out night. What do you reckon? Good or bad?
Best place on earth.
Oh, you've been there. Don't rub it in, man, please.
Best place on earth. It's one of them ones. Like that. Like actually, last night felt like it was a Champions League, almost like a Champions League night. It was beautiful to hear that noise from start to finish. I mean, I hate hearing Ollie's at the wheel chance, to be honest with you now. It's old.
I did hear that. Though. I think people must have found out they were getting pumped or that they lost and they played before us and that they lost and everyone just broke out in song.
Okay, he's gone now. He's sacked. But for me, it lost its humor because we didn't beat Brighton and we lost to West Ham. So that 5-0 drumming, it didn't feel as
it's a bit weaker now. Yeah, it's a bit tepid.
Yeah, because the following two games were absolute fucking shit. So it's hard to celebrate. He's got sacked, but it's not my club. I don't give a fuck what Man United do. I hate them with a passion. So whether their manager gets sacked or finishes the season or who they bring in next, I actually don't care because I don't care for them. So I think we just start focusing on ourselves now because we've got a good win and we got Champions League now. We can play Tsimikas, because he needs games. You can play Minamino now against Porto. We can play Tyler Morton maybe, which that was excellent. Got his debut. We can play Joe Gomez if he's fit. Hopefully, Konate gets some minutes. Now's a good time. Neco Williams, who's obviously scored a goal for Wales in the international break. Now's a good time, man. But this is what we should be looking forward to, making ourselves better.
Well, we've got Porto in the Champions League next. Then we've got Southampton at home. Then we've got the Merseyside derby away at Goodison on the 1st of December. We're away to Wolves a few days later. A couple of days later after that, we're away to the San Siro for the return leg against AC Milan. Obviously, we've already qualified, but we can just play kids up until then. Who cares if we lose the next 2-3 games? It's already been done and dusted. But then there's the big game against your first love, Aston Villa, Pete. So that's going to be one to look out for. But speaking of, with the players at the moment, the fitness of the squad, it has to be said, we don't know what's happening with Jota. Hopefully he's okay. Hopefully there's nothing else really there. Apparently there's no international break until next year, if that's correct.
4 months.
We do have...
so March, we do have, I think it is.
Yeah, African Cup of Nations is coming. That's where Salah and Mane disappear, and they're our goal scorers. We're really going to need our squad for this one here when it comes to... but we have to see, again, what happens with Diogo Jota. Obviously, we've got Origi, who's there, can do himself a goal. Look, he's come on and started matches and had standout performances, but is he going to be the person to lead the line? Firmino still to come back from his injury. As I said, we've got Harvey Elliott still to come back, however long he's going to take. But there are so many players in this squad who we can still play just yet. So is it now just going to be a matter of trying to get everyone up to full fitness and then getting them playing again? Or do you think we're going to need some more players come January if Michael Edwards can actually do something? It's going to be an interesting next few months.
Well, Jimmy, you can start this one.
Oh.
You can get shot first.
Yeah, the pleasure's all mine, mate. I would love to see one or two faces come in January, but I'm also a realist, and based on previous disappointments, transfer windows, I know what to expect. So we've got a lot coming up. Not only obviously we've got the dead rubber Champions League games. Always something to play for in a Champions League game at the end of the day. Got a big run in the Premier League coming up to Christmas and beyond, and then obviously there's still League Cup games to be played as well. So that's really the perfect mix of matches that we need for players to really get more minutes. It's fantastic to see Minamino come in and obviously not just get a few minutes, but get a goal as well. Jurgen Klopp will be absolutely frothing because obviously Divock Origi scored against West Ham and then Minamino scored against Arsenal. So that's the African Cup of Nations. Sorry, we just play those two. Don't worry about it. It's absolutely fine. All we need now is Cade Gordon to score against some second-rate team, and we'll be laughing. So it is just about keeping the mix going as we get towards Christmas and then January. Sort of going back to what we were saying before about that midfield three that we had this morning. I would love to see them play again. The reality is we're going to have to keep everyone fresh, so everyone's going to be rotating in and out. We're going to have Naby Keita back. We're going to have Curtis Jones back. We're going to have James Milner back in the next couple of weeks. Harvey Elliott, hopefully in the new year. That's a bit of a up in the air one. Bobby Firmino obviously still to come back as well. And I think Joe Gomez is actually not back until December at this moment in time. So
is that Curtis Jones injury the most weirdest thing that's gone out?
The eye injury, yeah.
Eye.
Yeah.
Well, he's hurt his eye socket. Like what? Fucking, and he's in for 3 weeks or what's happened here?
I couldn't work it out because I'm pretty sure he played one game with a black eye or something like that as well.
No, it was Tsimikas played with the black eye.
Oh, Tsimikas played with a black eye.
Yeah, and I'm thinking all of a sudden it's Curtis Jones who's out with the eye thing, and I'm thinking to myself, what's going on? I never saw a Momo Sissoko moment. I didn't see him get kicked in the face at all.
Yeah, no. So it's good that these players are coming back soon, though, because we all know how crazy December gets. We end up talking pretty much every second day because the games come so thick and fast. So if we can get these players back up to speed, we can avoid the injuries, touch wood, right? Then by the time we do get to the Cup of Nations, we'll be out without Mo Salah, and we'll be out with Sadio Mane for a few weeks, which is huge losses. But if we've now got these players that can step up during those 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever it is, I can never keep up with how long these things last nowadays. Then
just think of 8 games. I think it's 8 games.
I'll forget what I said then. Fuck. No, but the reality is, if we can really get those players up to speed, your Divock Origi's, because we've said it before, right? When Divock Origi can be arsed, he's fantastic. When Minamino gets an opportunity, he's great. We know Jota's fantastic. We know Bobby Firmino is, when he's on form, he's the best player in the Premier League, in my opinion, because he's so good at what he does, whether he's on the ball or off the ball. So we shouldn't be in too much of a crisis. But again, we'll wait and see what happens with injuries as well.
It's hard to replace goals, Jimmy, regardless if they're good players or not. Salah is almost guaranteed a goal a game.
Yeah.
Well,
it's one of them ones.
1 in 6. You know, I mean, I know he's 16 for 16 this season, so I'm pulling the pisser a little bit. I get that, but they were saying that I think that was his first goal for 6 games or something like that in all competitions, including internationals.
Didn't he score against United?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
that was 3 games.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm talking about
6 games?
Egypt as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they play 2 games there, West Ham,
Brighton.
the hell we have before that, Brighton. Yeah, actually, you might be on the
Well, tell those people to get fucked, please.
I'll pass it on.
if they consider that a mini crisis. But yeah, if we say Robertson, Origi, Henderson, Firmino, Keita, Gomez, Jones, Milner, and Elliott, they're our injured list at the moment. Well, Henderson's come back. Origi's so picked up a knock for Belgium. Robertson with his hamstring, and everyone else is a TBC. But in saying that, I just want to quickly reference Arsenal, because obviously they were the opposition that we played against. Pete, did you notice anything in Arsenal's setup or whatever? The Hulk Arteta decided to change or do something against this Liverpool squad that
he
helped
played
us in a way,
4-4-2.
because we scored a couple of counter-attacking goals, and it was almost like Liverpool of 3-4 years ago. We pump it long, couple of Alisson, like the Salah goal, Alisson to Tsimikas knocks it forward, Jota onto Mane, cross to Salah, like 4 passes, bang, done and dusted. What was your take on Arsenal setup?
Well, they started 4-4-2 and they stayed 4-4-2 for a little bit. And they wanted to defend for as long as possible, I think, in that shape to kind of frustrate us, because obviously teams have had success against us in a deeper 4-4-2 blocks. And I thought that was the approach he was taking. I found it actually quite odd that he was going to do that, considering they were the team in form, not us. So clearly he showed his cards there, knowing that he was actually shitting himself heading into the match by going against kind of his philosophy. So that was interesting. Then I feel like the Mane goal plus the fight rattled him a little bit. And then he kind of, at halftime, he kind of said, it's time to try and get one now because we're down. So if we lose 1-0, we lose 4-0, we're still going to lose. And that's when what you're talking about, the space is starting to open up, because they started to adventure more. They started to play a bit more forward. You saw Thomas Partey not as deep. You saw the fullbacks getting on a little bit more. Tomiyasu was higher up the park. But yeah, I don't know. For me, if they had just stayed a bit more disciplined at 1-0 for as long as the game went on, who knows? You may have jacked something, because they've got pace up front.
They do. This is another thing as well from other Arsenal fans who I've heard them speak. Playing the combo of Aubameyang and Lacazette sometimes is counterproductive or counterintuitive. I don't know what the full situation is there, but it's like when they play up front in like a 2 or 1 behind or whatever, it's like they don't know who's doing what. Normally you have Aubameyang start and then he'll go out left, and then Lacazette will come as striker and he'll get himself a late goal or whatever. So I don't know, maybe playing those two together is maybe not working for him. Do you see anything in that?
No, because he played Saka, he still played Smith Rowe. I don't know, Jimmy. What else did you see?
Yeah, I was going to say the way that Arsenal have usually played with their sort of front 3 or front 4, the attacking players, it usually does work quite well because of that sort of counter-attacking work that they do. I mean, Lacazette and Aubameyang are 2 fantastic players, but I just think that they just lost their shape completely, and that's just what cost them the game, because as soon as they lost their defensive mindset, as soon as they threw that out the window, Aubameyang and Lacazette became irrelevant, and they essentially just nullified their own players, which was absolutely insane, but worked perfect for us. And after that, we just went hammer and tong, and we as soon as we smelled blood, that was it. It's really strange, just in my opinion, just watching how Arsenal have played over the last few months, that they decide to play in such a defensive fashion when they do have these quality players. such as Aubameyang and Lacazette, and obviously from what we've seen so far this season, Smith Rowe can do a lot of fantastic work, and Saka's a fantastic young player as well. So I don't know whether the longevity of the way that they play is actually going to help them. I just feel like it's the same old Arsenal, who just can't quite figure out who they are or how they should play to become a successful club. They're always that sort of stop-start kind of team. So I don't see this being fruitful for them going forward.
Yeah, it's going to be a weird one there. Obviously, we're not here to talk about Arsenal. I just find it interesting how they've gone on a 10-game undefeated run, and then all of a sudden they come to Anfield and they get absolutely smashed to bits. I actually thought this was probably going to be a game that ends up in a draw, like a 2-2 or something to that effect. Obviously, we got the win, which is all good and well, which everyone's happy about, and we're closer to Chelsea now. We're second in the league after their 3-0 win away to Leicester, and I think it still has to be said that there is still something to go off there, because look, as it stands, Chelsea on 29, we're on 25, City on 23, but they're playing Everton in a few hours' time from when we're recording this. And then you've also got the likes of Tottenham as well, who are playing Leeds. Tottenham are down below, but when you think of your traditional top 6 teams, these are still, and Conte as well being at Tottenham, they're still trying to get their things together there. But at the moment, as you said, Jimmy, as well, I think off air before we started recording, Wolves got up to 6th place now, and then you got United in 7th, all shambles, and I don't know whether you want to have a laugh, a giggle, a round of applause, or a moment of silence. Solskjaer apparently has been sacked. As soon as the Glazers approve of it, he's done and dusted. Who's going to come into that job? Who the hell knows? But Manchester United fans may be happy. The rest of the footballing world will be sad, because Solskjaer was the main reason why we love to make fun of United.
Just being confirmed.
It has? Fantastic.
Just being
breaking
confirmed
news.
now.
Breaking news. Yep, I've just
The
got
Red
it now.
Sea
It's all on my-
podcast giving you breaking news. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is fucking kicked out of the club.
Yep, gone. Thank you very much for coming. Michael
Liverpool's
Carrick will not
biggest
take
loss of the
charge.
season. Michael
Yeah,
Carrick.
Michael Carrick will be in charge for forthcoming games. Clubs looks to appoint an interim manager till the end of the season. So interesting.
So apparently they've targeted Zidane, and apparently his wife has said she doesn't want to live in England.
Yeah.
There's been a couple. So the Ajax coach is also been. He's in
Ten Hag, is that his name?
Ten Hag,
yeah. He's been hit up, and apparently Pochettino is going to get hit up. So there's some of the names that have been thrown around at the moment.
This is the thing. They had the opportunity to sign Conte when he had nothing going on there, and they think, we'll stick with Ollie. Next minute, he signs for Tottenham, and now they're probably thinking like, man, if only we actually sacked. The listeners calls him Norwegian Gollum.
No, because not to talk about United anymore, because I get nausea. But it wouldn't have worked Conte with Ronaldo and stuff like that, because the way he plays and the way he likes to, he's forward pressing and then all that kind of, it wouldn't have worked. That's why they didn't go for him. It was Ronaldo's decision.
Pretty sure Ronaldo was signed to keep Oli in a job and can't even do that anymore. So, moment of silence for the rest of the league. Man United fans may be happy. Mark Goldbridge, who knows what the hell he's going to say. But in any case, Liverpool win. Everyone is happy. We've got, as I said, Porto away in the Champions League next. And then after that, we've got Southampton at home. And we still have players to come back. Pete, any final words on the performance or what you're looking to see from Liverpool in the next 2 games, shall we say?
Yeah, Timika starting.
What, like both games, Porto and Southampton?
From now on, until
non-stop.
Until Robbo wins his place back. Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. Easy as, Mr. Jimmy Nicholson.
I think it's a fair comment, to be honest. That's how football should work. If you've earned your place, then you get the opportunity to start. I think all I want going forward is clean sheets. There's nothing I love more than clean sheets. Everyone should enjoy a nice set of clean sheets. So if we can maintain that, then I'll feel a lot more confident going forward. But not only that, getting a 4-0 win at home against Arsenal with a clean sheet, and a solid performance where no one put in a foot wrong. If we can continue that going forward, I'll be a very happy man.
Fantastic. Good news all round. Well, we'll wait to see what happens between City and Everton and then Tottenham and Leeds in a few hours' time. So we might wake up in the morning and see more points dropped from our rivals. But who knows what's
going to happen.
Rafa.
Do us a favour.
masterclass away to City. I doubt it, but hopeful. And they're without De Bruyne, of course, tested for COVID, so he's out for 10 days apparently. So, Pete, actually, I did want to ask you just real quick here. I know you mentioned it before, but one more time. Gerrard gets his first win. Are you happy?
Look, I'm happy we got our first win under the manager. It was, like I said, it was a tough game. Brighton had some chances. We started the better team, then Brighton kind of took control. But in the second half, whatever Stevie said to him at half time, he literally changed the game. And I think we created plenty of chances. And Ollie Watkins, his goal was actually sensational, to be honest. He dribbled half the field.
Again,
He
bullshit
did do a
arse.
little bit of that, didn't he? He just went all the way. And this is what it means to Pete and also to Gerrard as well. Look at that. Love and life. What a celebration. It's like he just scored.
By the way,
himself a
all
goal.
jokes aside, and I said it off air, all jokes aside, but after Ollie Watkins scored and the camera
Yeah.
went to Stevie to see what Stevie's doing, and you see him doing that Stevie fist bump that he does. So
Yeah.
that one fucking right there. And
Yeah.
I feel like I was a teenager again. And like I just got this rush of blood.
Yeah, I did too.
And I ripped my shirt. I was like, fucking, like you just get that feeling back. You know what I mean? Like it's like I don't think people understand this guy anyway. But either way, like when I felt that passion as well that he used to give me when he scored, probably against Villa, obviously because he scored quite a few against them. But that one there, I love that feeling that he gives me. That's all.
No, I'm with you. I felt the same way. I didn't actually know the results. I just put on the highlights show from the morning overnight goals, and I watched and I saw, here we go. Villa on the attack. There's a goal here, surely. And then you see Watkins pop it in, and he goes to Gerrard, and you see him running around. I just went, that warms my heart. But I don't want to see it on December 11th/12th. I don't want to see it then. But they can score a late consolation goal. He can just give himself a bit of a clap like this when they get one back after we've dropped them 4-0. Sorry, Pete. I'm trying to call it early now. We need revenge after last season. So we'll leave it at that. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining myself and everyone else for the match debates. Of course, you can follow us on our socials at Red Sea Down Under and the Red Sea Pod. Gentlemen, it's been a lovely match debate. Thank you very much for joining once again. Hope you have a lovely Sunday evening, however long remains. And to everyone watching overseas, I hope your Sunday is filled with nothing but joy. And let's just realize that we are still one of the best teams in the world. So that'll do us. See you later.